Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So currently, the stock market is in free fall and it's been going down and down for the past few business days, and it's not exactly showing any signs of slowing down. Now, it is true that there are numerous reasons for why this is, and some will point to some Japanese currency mishap going on abroad as the main reason why the stock market's falling. It's possible that it could be some sort of a correction, but that doesn't really change the fact that a good portion of this does have to do with the fact that the economy is in shambles, and it's been in shambles. The data hasn't exactly been showing it. The stock market, first of all, has not really been going up that much under Biden, especially when you adjust it for rising costs, inflation, you name it. But still, you're seeing the jobs report get released. The unemployment rate is at its highest level in nearly 3 years. And that's really saying something. You had this administration, they were like, oh, the consumer sentiment around the economy is all fake because the unemployment rate's low. Well, it's not so low anymore. It's going up. It's going up. Jobs numbers this month, they usually get revised down, by the way, under this administration. But you only have 114,000 jobs that were added. A lot of these jobs we see are going to immigrants and illegal aliens that have poured into this country, either legally or illegally. And you see the charts of the amount of jobs that have been created since COVID. No new jobs. Net negative jobs actually have gone to native-born Americans, and that's a major problem. Wages are not going up enough. They're not rising enough to make up for inflation. There's so many reasons for the economy not being viewed positively, which is never a good thing in regards of an incumbent party and their election chances. It's not. You could point to, the GDP or whatever. Well, we're likely entering another recession, which again, they changed the definition of recession under Biden to say, technically it's not a recession, even though, a year or two ago, he had 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth. And usually when you see something like this, we're experiencing some sort of a contraction. We're not going to have like a formal recession before the election, but it's clear that the economy's not doing well. And Democrats hoped it would fully recover and soar, and that's not happening right now. And they're getting the worst data at the worst possible time, and that never looks good. It never looks good. And we hear a lot about these 13 keys, which are very arbitrary and are interpreted by the opinions of a left-leaning professor with bias. And they've been wrong before. They have. But what's never been wrong in terms of an election model? The guaranteed loss rule. When GDP growth slows the last year of an administration, and when unemployment goes up during the last year of an administration, which both of those things are technically true right now, never in American history has that party won re-election, won the next election. And you're kind of seeing that unfold here. You're only going to have one of these jobs reports left before early voting begins. Might get even worse. You may have 2, maybe 3 left before election day takes place. And they keep getting worse and worse. They do. This is not exactly where you want to be as a president or as a party of a president going into the election. Trump is hitting Kamala for this already, calling it the Kamala crash, and talking about how good Trump cash was. And it's true. Trump's strength was the stock market. They'll say, the stock market's higher now. It's higher now. Technically, it's been growing at a much slower rate under Biden than it was growing under Trump. You still had COVID, but Trump, he took it from the moment he got elected, 16, 17,000 in the Dow. He took it all the way to 31,000. He really doubled the stock market in 4 short years with an economic downturn, with a global pandemic. And still, this administration has taken it up, 7,000, 8,000. And when you adjust it for inflation, it's gone up by 2,000. Not exactly a very good look. And you talk about the advantage on the economy Trump has, up by 31 in Michigan, 31 in Pennsylvania, 38 in Wisconsin. These are 3 swing states that there's only been one Republican to win them since 1988. That's Trump. He's the only Republican to win all 3 at once since Ronald Reagan in 1984. When he won every state except for one. And these are the key states that, were basically neck and neck in 2020. Trump needs to slightly improve in to essentially retake the White House. And you're seeing these numbers, they don't bode so well, especially because Trump has that talking point advantage. And Democrats are losing their talking point that was extraordinarily misleading before our very eyes. We don't know if the economy is going to crash in full, but it's in a horrendous state right now. And the stock market doing this, 3 months before Election Day, that's not going to bode too well for Kamala Harris. It wasn't just the Dow. S&P 500 down 3%, NASDAQ 3%, all these others down by 2 to 3% or even more just today alone. And over the past few days, Dow has been down by 5%. So definitely not like a full total crash, like it's falling 10% per day, but it's not in a good position. It might bounce back tomorrow. I mean, I anticipate there'd be some sort of dead cat bounce. I mean, even in, COVID in 2020, we saw a few of those. And back in 2008, there were a few dead cat bounces as well. And that's that. But still, it's not a good look for this administration, especially because Harris has been there at the forefront, touted Bidenomics as some sort of accomplishment. Not exactly all that great. And I think they know it deep down. The polls are tightening. It's true. Harris actually took the lead on RCP. We may cover that a little bit more in depth tomorrow, along with the VP pick, as we'll get who the VP pick is. But still, could it be from a response bias? Absolutely. Like some of these polls, they go from polling like 20% of the electorate being liberal, and then they go to like 30-something%. And it's like, that's not sustainable. It's not like a bunch of Americans are just becoming liberals overnight because they're captivated by Kamala Harris. Like, let's be real here. We've seen response biases in the past. They've sometimes overestimated Republicans. Mitt Romney in 2012 after the debate, John McCain in 2008 after he picked Palin, got a lot of energy on his side. Again, it was not sustainable. You had an economic downturn. Are we possibly seeing a mini downturn now? Well, I think we are going to enter some sort of recession, to be honest. I don't know if it's going to be '08 bad, but I think that if Harris does win, it very may well be '08 bad, which is a major, major problem. And it may be better off for the country to have a mini recession, a mini downturn in the meantime, get Trump elected, and then turn it around than, stabilize everything for a couple months and then nosedive off a cliff. You have people that are saying, well, you're celebrating this. And it's like, no, I'm just, engaging in critical thinking skills. Of course, these people have none. And in terms of the other side, while we're on the subject, I think it's important we talk about their newest announcement, which will be coming out very shortly, and that is the VP pick. And Josh Shapiro was the favorite for a while. And he still may be the choice, but you look at the betting odds in the past few hours, they have taken a complete and total 180. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, very left-leaning guy, very far left. He's leaned even further and further to the left, used to maybe be a moderate 10, 15 years ago, was the congressman from a Trump district. He became governor of the state of Minnesota, and he's been governing very far left. And he's a favorite of the far left. They think he's going to win them the Rust Belt. They don't like Shapiro because Josh Shapiro is pro-Israel to a certain degree. This is true in terms of the Gaza people. They are afraid Shapiro is somebody who is going to turn them off because he has, trashed the protesters while somebody like Tim Walz has supported them. The only problem being Josh Shapiro, while I do think he's extraordinarily overrated and he does have scandals in his closet, he is from the state of Pennsylvania, the biggest swing state, would give them 19 electoral votes. I agree, he doesn't have much appeal in Michigan or Wisconsin, and I don't even know how much appeal he would bring to the ticket for Harris in Pennsylvania, but definitely he would probably help her out by maybe a point or two. His popularity would tank, but he might be able to carry her over the finish line. He does arguably, in my opinion, have appeal in like a state like Georgia, more so than some people would anticipate as well. But it doesn't seem like, as things stand right now, he's the favorite. He could still be the pick. This could be a massive head fake, but Tim Walz, the guy who let his state burn to the ground in 2020, the guy that's basically an even balder, even more far left, Midwestern Tim Kaine, he doesn't really add much to the ticket other than energize the Paris supporters. And it may confirm this ticket is not exactly in this to win this. This ticket is a turnout operation, a turnout machine for the left, because they knew that Biden would struggle significantly, not just with independents, but with their own base. Harris will likely still struggle with independents, and she will also struggle with Hispanic voters, and she won't even match Biden's total with black voters. But in terms of energizing turnout, that's what they're trying to do here with this pick. That's why you see the poll shift. I think it's more of a response bias than anything, but there is some argument to the fact that if they're more likely to answer polls as things stand right now, they're more likely to show up to the polling place. And it likely still would not be enough, and the polls would likely be overestimating Harris a little bit. There's no way that her popularity went from -20 to +10 overnight, which has been the case in some of these polls. But still, what she's going to do is she's going to energize her base better than Biden, which it's important that we get out and vote. And it shows that in terms of her VP pick, she doesn't exactly care if it's going to be Tim Walz. If it's Shapiro still, arguably, you could make the case he wouldn't help, and there are skeletons in his closet, and we'll get to those if he is the VP pick. But Tim Walz, again, a dull pick, a pick that probably will get eviscerated by J.D. Vance in the VP debate, somebody who let his city just burn to the ground 4 years ago. I mean, let's be real here. He would be a pick that would just placate the far left and nothing else. And the people they're trying to placate have arguably very low voter turnout to begin with and likely will remain at that level. But also they have the worst political instincts in the world as well. And if they think that Walz is the best pick, it kind of showcases that this campaign is even more of a paper tiger than some people may have thought. So we'll see the way the polls move. Either way, I don't really think the VP pick itself is going to move the polls. Harris might continue a lead in the polls, and that's one thing. Even if she does maintain a lead, though, it's unlikely that she's going to really get a convention bump, because we're kind of already seeing that convention bump right now, and all the convention's going to do is likely just galvanize Democrats. So maybe more of a response bias. We'll see. But the election takes place in about 3 months. The economy is in free fall in many ways, now including the stock market. We'll see if it changes. But man, I will tell you that the Tim Walz pick, if this is true, which again, the betting markets change every minute, but look, he just went up to 59 cents. Josh Shapiro down there at 44. Polymarket's very similar, a little bit less bullish on Walz, but he's the favorite there as well. So we'll have to see what happens on that front, but there's some new data that came out today, and it makes Donald Trump look fairly good, but we got 3 months to go, so let's finish this. So anyways, guys, make sure you like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.